restaurants here in the US. We spent a lot of money on it. So, yeah, so agriculture, so everybody we work with does everything in the from the vineyard to the cellar to marketing and sales. So that's where we get to the small production. It's not about the number of bottles, but it's really about finding producer who do everything. And by doing that, you have to put a lot of like effort into controlling the quality of the product. At least these are the people that we work with. So all of them do manual harvesting. And one of the things that we always talk about is, okay, what's in wine? Well, there are two things that usually in wine you should find: sulfites and grapes. And the rest, if you're doing hand harvesting and you're really caring about having good grapes, you shouldn't have any additives. You should not have to correct the wine. We're not talking about Coca-Cola. The wine is going to also taste different, vintage after vintage. So sometimes we get excited about a new vintage that is better than the previous one. And sometimes it's quite the opposite, right? So it's kind of like, oopsie, I really like last year vintage, but it's not coming back. So there's really no way to reproduce the same glass of wine, the same bottle of wine, which makes it really, really interesting. Sometimes it's completely, again, it's just drinking a different wine. Um, yeah, so that's kind of like what we do. And we have started really by doing research right after COVID, which was really hard because if you remember, Italy was in lockdown. So it was not easy to go visit producer, to go to fairs and finding places where you would find the ability to meet with more producer than just one. So Marco and I spent 2 months traveling in Italy and going from producer to producer that Marco had previously screened. His screening method is becoming a little better because there were so many producers in the beginning that were like, after 5 minutes, you would know that it wasn't up to par. But we're stuck. We're in Italian culture where everybody wants to, feed you, wants you to stay there. And 3 hours of staying there, you were just like, okay, I can't wait to get the heck out of there, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but we've gotten better with that process of selection, and we're trying to like really go to places like there are a lot of like opportunities. I don't know if anybody has been to Italy before. Has anybody been to Italy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you had the opportunity, you would go maybe to a town where there is a particular variety, and you might find 10, 15, 20, even more producer that make the same wine. And that's an amazing way to get familiar with, okay, what is this wine? Do we like it? What we don't, or we don't. You talk a little bit, and then that's your pre-screening basically. And then we will select the ones that really stand out and we go visit them. So we visit every single one. We don't take samples for anyone. If they want to send out our wines, we decline. We want to drink the wine at their winery, which winery meaning sometimes it's their kitchen. Not everybody has their own actually place. They have their own cellar. But we only work with producers who have their own grapes. So nothing is bought from these producers. And
Oh, I did not know that
oh,
part actually.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. That's a must for us.
Got it.
Um, so that's what I'm saying. They're farmers first
Yeah.
and winemakers second. So
Yeah.
we don't really like to. Again, the word winery is not what we use in Italy that much. Um, it's not that we don't use it. We use it with a different connotation. The winery is more the place where you make the wine, but not necessarily where you have a tasting room.
Yeah.
I can count maybe three or four that have something that looks a little bit like something that we may have seen in the US. The rest is like, again, talking about our Lambrusco producer, you go into their kitchen, and you're really sitting around and you're using their bathroom and you're like
Yeah.
you're walking into their home. So the ability to, what you were saying about humanizing it, you're really getting to know the personality of the winemaker. And
Yeah.
sometimes I have to say I'm very biased because we tend to really, well, we don't tend to. We only work with who we like. Having quit our jobs, having worked in corporates, like, hey, life is too short to work with people we don't like. But there's some they're like, maybe they have a bigger personality. And I'm so biased because I love their wines even when they're bad in a way. They're never really bad, but they might have like something that you don't like so much. But the personality comes through so much that when I'm drinking that wine, all I can think of is like the work that is done to get this wine in the glass. And 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 like it reminds me of the place, it reminds me of the person. So it's hard, I guess, when you're drinking just from a glass without knowing, you're you're valuing that wine just for what it is without knowing the rest. So
Yeah. It's I mean it's what you are talking about. I mean, all the folks who've been on my wine club for a while, which are everybody in the call right now, is they've heard me talk about this all the time, which is that this idea of, oftentimes the best winemakers that or best wines that resonate with me are made by people who truly believe that good wines are made in the vineyards, not in the
yeah,
cellars. It's first and foremost about farming and growing the best possible grapes that you possibly can, and then you do as little as possible in the cellar just to make sure it doesn't turn to vinegar. So, and then this kind of the idea of winemakers who consider themselves farmers first and foremost. It's like these are you can oftentimes see them by looking at their fingernails. Like, do they have
yeah,
dirt under their
no.
fingernails, right? Like if their hands
It's
are like pristine and clean, you're like,
yeah.
you don't actually farm any of these things. You don't actually touch the soil. Like
It's so right. We
yeah,
always like look at the hands. In fact, I
yeah,
have two funny stories about that. One was we were in Puglia last year,
yeah,
and we go to this tiny little town, and we go in the place where we're supposed to meet. And there's an older guy, and he said, "Oh, are you here to see?" I can't remember the name of the producer. And I said, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh, okay." He didn't tell me you were coming, but let me call him. He doesn't live that far away. So it's like we thought it was weird, first of all, that he forgot about the appointment. Whatever, right? And the meeting was in town. It wasn't, sometimes we meet at the vineyard. So the guy shows up like 20 minutes later, and he has this like, I mean, you could tell Italian clothes and style. He had this white linen shirt, beautiful hands and stuff. And I'm already looking at Marco, my brother, and I'm kind of like signaling, it's like, what's going on here? And then he's like, okay, let me take you to the vineyard. So we got to the vineyard in this like also fancy car, which they usually drive like really dirty and like, SUVs that have to go in the
mhm,
vineyard. And it turns out that his this particular orange wine became so successful that he had to increase production. And so he went from maybe 30,000 bottles to 90 plus thousand, mostly sold in Japan. uh, he was actually buying grapes, and all he does now is basically traveling the world.
right,
I mean, the whites were good, but it was
yeah.
like, Marco, what did you do? And he goes like, I guess the information I had wasn't updated, right?
Yeah,
But
he's
that
gotten
was
too big.
one. And the second one, we had a producer coming to the US, and it's a woman, and Julieta is from Argentina. And she shows up, and I notice her nails. And I'm like, Julieta, and she stayed at my house. So it's like, Julieta, let me understand here because it's like we always talk about the hands.
Yeah.
And it's like, your hands are so beautiful. And she goes, you have no idea. I am dirty 360 days out of the year. And when I get to do something different, I I'm doing the things that I never do in the vineyard. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, that makes sense. So this is another situation where you're like always dirty, always your hands are always a mess. And it's kind of like
Yeah.
she was treating herself to something different. So anyway,
Amazing. Yeah, it's true. It's always true. Yeah, you can always tell by looking at their hands, like who are the people who actually work the field every day or not. Their hands don't lie, honestly. So, um, okay. And then you guys are from Piedmont, right? You
yeah,
and
so we are
Marco?
from Torino,
Torino.
Piemonte. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So.
And
Yeah.
then at this point, but you guys are importing wines from kind of all over, not just
From
Piedmont.
all over Italy, we definitely had a big presence in not only in Piemonte, but in the northern Italy, and it's all basically logistics. Marco can go, in an hour, 2 hours, he can drive and
Yeah.
discover more. I mean, there's so many grape varieties. I don't know if anybody knows, but Italy has the most grape varieties than any other countries in the world. Um, More than France, Spain, and
Yeah.
Greece combined. So I always joke that the French have like a few grape varieties. They're very good with marketing. Italians have a ton. They're terrible at marketing. So I think we have something to learn from the French. But yeah, and they usually give these fancy names, right? So yeah, so we're trying to really have a bigger representation, but we have a lot in again in that part of Italy, which is the northern part.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. So for the folks on the call, the the Mamma May Bianco there we had in the
Yeah,
Puglia box is actually from Cristina as well. And I was shocked that you carried a Puglia wine. I was like, really?
yeah,
You
yeah.
have wines from Southern Italy?
Yeah. We have
Uh,
some Sicily, Sardinia. Yeah.
yeah. So
And
that's
it's
good.
also like I have to say that those are been harder for us to import
Yeah.
because we like freshness. We like wines that you drink very easily. We don't like the what my brother calls them the juicy bombs or the wines that you chew.
Yeah.
And in the South, because it's so hot, you tend to have bigger wines. So we had to do several trips to get, things that we will like.
Yeah.
And we're also, again, a little partial about Nebbiolo, right? We grew up with that. So sometimes it's hard. We have to like really get used to it and think of like, do we want to import the same that everybody has? So again, we talked about a Primitivo. It's like, well, there's a lot of Primitivo already in the US. We're never going to make it by bringing the same Primitivo that everybody else has. So we need to find that particular one. And sometimes it's not easy. So,
Right. Yeah. And we talked a lot about during the Puglia box about how so until that I put that box together, my image of Puglia wines have always been exactly what you were talking about, what Mark was talking
mhm.
about, that juice, chewable wine. But
Yeah,
and I didn't like it for that reason. But it wasn't until I tasted your wine and some of the others, I was like, wow, the acid is possible in
yeah, it
Puglia.
is.
So
It's
yeah,
actually so each region has also what it's interesting for us to travel, and that's why we do a lot of traveling. It's really to learn more about the region. So Puglia is one where big production is always been going on. They do a lot of the table, what we
yeah,
call it, the table grapes. They
right,
have like this massive grapes, right? Huge. And so there are not that many small producers in Puglia. They're only now coming up.
right,
So there are other places where you have a lot of choice in a way of like smaller producers. Puglia is like it's really there are a lot of like huge, you know, um, like they're almost like I don't want to say corporations, but
yeah, yeah,
big
yeah,
big
yeah, yeah.
wineries with production in the over 500,000. And so for us, it's never been a market
Yeah, I
that
mean
would be
it's a
interesting.
huge agricultural part of Italy, right? Like
Yeah,
kind of like a California of the US,
yeah,
like a lot of
absolutely.
products
Yeah.
and bulk wine comes from there as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly, exactly. A lot of the bulk wine,
I mean,
absolutely.
I also always say I used to tease Christina, just like, Marco does all the fun stuff of going there, hunting down wine and visiting producers and tasting wine, and you're the one who's here who have to sell it and actually have to deal
Yeah,
with
oh
the
yeah, oh
logistics and finicky customers like me.
it's
Uh,
true. It's like I always joke that because when he does, like, he actually called me this afternoon. He was doing something, and then he went to visit our Barbaresca producer, and he's a riot. I mean, it's like, and you probably know that we're putting together travels, and so he was visiting
yeah,
some hotels for our next trips. And then he goes, I'm gonna just go visit Corrado, but I told him that I have very little time. I don't have time to stay. So 4 o'clock, I texted him. He's not answering. And then at one point, I just see he sent me a picture of Corrado's Arnaise. And I'm like, you're still there. So eventually he called me and he said, I couldn't get away. I showed up, he had two bottles open. Then we went to lunch, we opened another bottle. We came back and he wanted to make me taste more stuff. And he was complaining. It's like, I have work to do. And I'm like, you know what? Stop complaining, right?
Yeah, it's like, why don't we switch? Why don't I
Yeah,
go work in
exactly,
Italy for a bit? Why don't you
exactly.
come here and work the market
Yeah.
for a few months? So,
So,
all right. Well, we'll get back into asking you more about the business, importing side and your story and all of that. But since we have the wine, uh,
yeah. So let
talk about
me,
the Val
I
di
can't seem
Aosta and the
to,
wine.
yeah. So let me go for a second. Let me stop sharing because I have some maps that for some reason they're not showing up and I don't know why. Um, Let me see if I can do it again. Um, but I wanted to, okay, share. Okay, here we go. Okay. Um, can you see the map?
Yep, you see it.
Okay, so I might just keep it like that if you don't mind, because otherwise I can't see what's next. But
Okay.
just to briefly, and again, I'm going to run through these slides very quickly, but just to understand. So you're going to see on the left, you see Italy, all the regions. There are 20 regions. And Valle d'Aosta is nestled really in the Alps, the very right left corner between Switzerland and France. So you have France on one side, Switzerland on the north, and you have Piemonte, so that's where I'm from, on the south. Okay, smallest Italian region, and what you see on the right is a map that shows you mountains and basically the geography, and you can see the Alps are all around the north top part. So when we go to the next slide, here's Valle d'Aosta, 100% mountain. Okay. So you already think of, if you know a little bit about wines, again, we're talking about Puglia, now we're talking to mountain region. So we're high altitude, big diurnals, is that what they're called? Like the,
Yeah, diurnal shift.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Um, and you can see here, you see, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but there is a river in between. And that's along the river. That's the only area where you can actually plant any vines. So, smallest region, a lot of mountain, not that many places to plant the vines. And here is another map. So we're actually going deeper into where Di Barro is, and it's in the town of Saint Pierre. So just briefly, Valle d'Aosta is a autonomous region. It was made autonomous after the Second World War. So both French and Italian are the official languages. So you're going to see a lot of words in French. A lot of the names of the wines are in French. And also, you're going to see, if you have the bottle, you might see the denomination in French. Most of the vineyards are south exposure, even though now, thank you, climate change, they're trying to plant on the north side because it's
Mm.
becoming really, really hard to have this the high temperature that cause, unless you want residual sugar, you're gonna have really high alcohol. Um, it's heroic viticulture, so you have steep slope, a microclimate, and everything has to be done manual because in a lot of places the tractors cannot go. So pretty cool area. And now going into deeper row, it's a whole family. So Andrea and Elvira with their kids, Matteo and Francesca, who are taking over the winery. Um, you can see from the tech sheets a little bit about where the name comes from. Um, but basically, the barrel means from the barrels because they used to have these barrels, that wooden barrels that were used to to carry the wine from the or the grapes from the vineyard to the cellar. And then after the wine was made, the barrels also would be put on carts and taken to the village. And it was a sign of strength to have these barrels, whoever could lift the bigger ones and more of them. Um, Also, the Barro is a comes from the names of the paternal parents, paternal grandparents of Matteo. So the family's last name were Barmaz and Rosan. So Barro, Bar and Ro. Um, and okay, so now, okay, I'm gonna show you again just a few pictures. This is their wines. This is the logo a little bit. We can go back to it. But let's go back to the wine, I guess. So that's what we want to talk about. So this is Matteo. And one thing that it's very, I don't even have a picture actually of the cellar. Um, One thing that it's very unique about what they do, everything is done in stainless steel tanks. So same vinification for every single wine, red and white. So what you're really tasting in the glass is really the grape variety. So this is their house, also winery, I guess. So that's what they're tasting. Uh, and from the next pictures, you're gonna see this is my brother doing the hard work, right, with Matteo. This is Matteo on the tractor. So you're gonna see you see the background, and these are oh, this is like a nice thing they do in the summer where you can go and taste wine in the vineyard. But from all this picture, and I can go back and do it a little bit slower, but I think it's pretty obvious. You're in the mountains, right? So you have high altitude. Mayolet specifically really likes the high altitude. It doesn't grow less than 600 to 650 meters in altitude, which is a little less than 2,000 feet. Their Mayolet vineyard is at 850, which is about 2,800 feet. So, okay, terroir. You have high altitude, granite soil. Um, you have again very steep vineyards, and these varieties, there are many different varieties. They try to do everything in purity. So this is a Mayolet 100%, which is kind of rare. There are only a handful of producers who make it. Mayolet is the earliest variety for ripening. But and it's also one of the really they call it the fussiest variety because the is it cluster? No, I guess the grapes help me. It's like the cluster are
Bunches?
very tight.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it tends to have botrytis. Also, the birds really like it, and the again you have this compact and uneven maturation, so it's kind of like really painful. So a lot of winemakers did not want to deal with it. It almost went extinct in the year 2000. So it was thankfully they were able to bring it back to life, and it's quite okay now in terms of production. But again, a lot of it is used in a blend, especially the Tourette blend, which is from the area. As I said, this is Mayolet impurity. They used to they know of the I guess the first time that people have heard of Mayolet was in the 18th and 19th century, and it was described as a very fragrant and delicate wine. So I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, actually visiting a friend. So I don't have the wine with me. You guys are all drinking, so maybe you can talk about if it's
yeah,
really this fragrancy and this uh like very delicate grape turns into a
totally. I this was actually the once I decided to kind of explore Valde's the region and put a monthly box around it. This was actually the first wine that I tasted, first wine that you tasted me on. Uh, and I was immediately kind of struck by it. It's because I knew I've never heard of Mayolet, first of all. I was like, what is that grape that where, and and then I learned that it was usually used in blend. It's usually a blending grape. It's never a variety. It almost went extinct at some point. Um, And to me, like this particular bottling of Mayolet, I can't speak of other Mayolets, but this particular Mayolet to me is a very complete wine. Like I don't understand why this was only used as a blending grape, right? Like
Hmm.
it stands on its own. I guess it was just really hard to grow, and it's not
Yeah,
necessarily the what the
I think that's the reason, right? Right. It's not because they didn't want to. There were other grapes like the Petit Rouge,
right,
a
which is
lot
much
easier
easier,
to
right?
you don't like.
Um, But what I love about this wine is kind of like everything that I kind of like about high altitude mountain wines as well as what wines from this region is that there's this kind of beautiful kind of a bright fruit, but not lacking in ripeness. It's perfectly ripe fruit. You get these beautiful red berries. There's some like a dark berries in here too, but like to me, this is much more like a red. But compared to Petit Rouge, especially the I keep calling it the Chinese Petit Rouge, but
I
it's
know.
not Chinese Petit Rouge. The Xiaohongzhou that we tasted last week, which is the early picked Petit
Yeah.
Rouge. Like there's a lot more darkness here. It's much
Hmm.
deeper. It is a little bit blacker, but the acid, the brightness here is what I love about this wine. Like, and then
Hmm.
there's some savoriness that comes in here. The Mayolet just has this kind of like a herbaceous quality to it, which is like compared to on the backs of on the background of that like a really ripe, beautiful berries and fruit, having some of the savory kind of balance is really nice. But yeah, all around, like I thought this was it was my first time having Mayolet, and I was immediately sold on it. I was like, this is a great wine. Like this is really well made. It's great. Um, and I've said this at the beginning of this month, but uh, the actual the we ended up doing three wines from one producer, which is a pretty rare thing that I do on Six. We usually have four different producers, but this time we have two, one, and three bottles from one producer this month. And but the fact that Mateo makes all the wines exactly the same, all in stainless
Hmm.
steel tank, and these are all varietal characters. So like you really get to see what exactly these grapes are like on their own, which is at least for wine geeks like me, is super fun to do. So uh,
Absolutely. I agree. I agree with you. It's like one of the best things that um, apart from visiting them, but also doing a tasting, especially the red varieties. I mean, we only have one white, the Petit Arvin, which you guess you're tasting next week, right?
next week, yeah,
But the reds, it's like they make Vuillerman, they make Fumant, they make Petit Rouge, two Petit Rouge, the Mayolet, and then you have the Tourette, which are a blend of 95% Petit Rouge, and they actually have three Tourette, 95% of Petit Rouge, and then 5%, sorry, 90%,
yeah,
10% of other grape variety, including Cornalen, Vienne de New, Premaline. And so it's amazing even to see what a 10% added to the Petit Rouge changes. And
yeah,
again, you can say, oh, this is a barrel. This was like, no, it's made the same exact way.
yeah,
And really, really, as you said, it's like it's so unique. There's only one problem, and I always say that they don't have a huge quantity. They have about 10 acres of land. Um, in 15, 20 plots, so they have to go around to to take care of all the different vineyards, but mostly they want to sell their wines locally, so they're not giving priority to us. We're the last one. We have to beg for it. They
yeah,
want the restaurants to have it. So first and foremost is going to be available locally. If there's any leftover, we get it. And because of these, it's a pretty harsh environment. Yes, we talk about climate change and it's hotter, but it doesn't mean that you don't get the snow, and you also start to get like hails, you get all sorts of other things in the vineyard. Sometimes they had one year, I can't remember if it wasn't this past one, but I think it was the previous one. They had only 30% of yield for the Petit Rouge. So
oh wow,
they had to decide, okay, instead of 100% or whatever you want to call it, they had so little, what are we going to make? And we got pretty much nothing. There was
yeah,
one year we got 5 cases, so 60 bottles of Petit Arvin, because Petit Arvin was the one having trouble. So not only they're not exported, and I wonder if that's also the reason, right? Small production, but you can never know if you're going to get it or not.
Yeah,
And so they're really, truly gems. I really encourage you, if you have a chance, go visit this region because you're going to be blown away by the scenery and by, again, just look at this picture. It's just like amazing.
I know.
And you
Pictures
can
are
see the
incredible.
narrow valley, right? So, by the way, you see on the other side, so that's where they're starting. You're going to see new vineyards being planted, not that many. And it takes about 3 to 4 years to have a vineyard bearing fruit, which is not necessarily all you want because some of the vineyards are 20, 30 years old. So you got a lot more, right, from an older vineyard. So whoever is planting now on the north facing, north exposure, who knows if climate is going to change again, if we're really going to benefit from planting on the other side. But they're trying.
Yeah. Um, can I ask you about so Valdiasa kind of trade structure? So from what I've read, I don't know if this is actually true, but the the average vineyard holding size per producer in Valdiasa is like less than a hectare, like half a hectare per winemaker, which is crazy. I mean, that is such a small holding, and so it's basically a lot of kind of scattered vineyards owned by different people everywhere, the small vineyards
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
know the number, but I can see why it would be true because
yeah,
you have, so always remember, so Mark and I are probably one of the rare people who don't have any relatives who own a vineyard. I always hope that one day I'm going to find out of an old aunt who's going to give us a vineyard, like I inherit something. It's not happened yet. But
yeah,
so many produce wine for their own consumption.
yeah,
And in region, even take Piemonte, there's so many big producers that the average gets completely skewed, right?
yeah,
In Valle d'Aosta, the biggest producer is La Crête,
yeah,
which makes 300,000 bottles. That's the biggest producer in the whole region.
right.
So that just tells you something.
It was funny. I gotta tell folks this story.
Uh,
So when I was tasting, when I was tasting Le Cret. By the way, Le Cret is the biggest, but still makes only
yeah,
300,000.
absolutely.
300,000
Yes.
bottles in the wine world is like it's a drop in the bucket. I mean, it's a tiny, tiny producer.
Yeah.
Um, but they are the biggest in the region. So I was tasting Le Cret with, of course, one of the like the bigger. I think it was like Southern, one of the like the bigger
Yeah.
distributors in the company, and the wines were fine. They're perfectly fine, but it's in that very like, square, it's made correct. Nothing is wrong with the wine, but nothing to really, no personality to really speak of. And then Christina was coming in after him to taste the like last two wines. So she came in, and then it was funny sitting here in my dining room. Here was Le Cret being represented by the biggest distributor in DC, the biggest company there. And then here's Cristina, the smallest one in the region, with the smallest producer in the region, just like right next to each other. And they're like, oh, you represent like Brand? Oh, you represent the Barro? Like they're like across the street from each other, essentially.
Yeah.
There are like literally only four producers that essentially that I found in DC market. And I think
Yeah.
in most of the US as well. It's like Lecret, DeBarro, you, and then Grosjean, and
Grosjean.
the
Otan?
the Hermes, the Hermes.
Otan?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ottin? Yeah.
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 So it's like four or five producers. That's
Yeah.
it from Valdeasa that make it into US.
Yeah.
So it was just funny to see that. And again, like this is kind of going back to what I was saying. What makes working with Christina fun, and why people like Christina makes the wine scene fun and interesting is that like the guy from Southern was talking about, it's like, oh, I know DiBarro, but like there's no way we could pick that up. It's just like
Yeah.
too small of
Absolutely.
a production. It's
Absolutely.
like it's not worth our time,
Yeah.
nor could we keep it. Like we'll just run out, sell out as soon as it lands, and we could only give to select people. So like it's just not worth our time. But on the other hand, someone like Christina can bring it in and then sell it to people like us. So
Yeah.
now we can,
It's kind of funny because I told you, and you guys are really lucky to be tasting the Petit Arvin because originally I didn't have it, and so when I tasted with Wong, I did not have the white, and then I think you were doing something else, so you were busy with something else, and then it's like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
going back to my Valle box. And he said,
Yeah.
do you have any white? And I said, actually, you're lucky because the some that had so there's one restaurant in Baltimore
Baltimore. Yeah.
that bought all the Petit Arvin, but the sommelier left, and in the change, because I knew I didn't have that much, I did not bring it up that we had reserved the wine for them. So I told him, and I just said, if you want it, you can have it. But funny thing, the Sam moved to this new restaurant that it's about to open up. And last week, my 2 days, I came back from Italy and I went to do a tasting and they want all the Petit Arvin. And it's left. And I didn't. And I told him, like, yeah, we have this much, I didn't know if you wanted it at the new restaurant. I
Yeah.
sold some. She
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
absolutely, take all the rest for me. And then this morning, thinking that we are going to have this meeting, I said, oh, but I usually offer the ability to get more if people want it. So I want to just tell you that if you do want it, again, you haven't even tried the Petit Arvin. I can sneak some in because the restaurant is not open. They had not made the order. So
Yeah.
I just can say that I haven't counted the box as well, but this is it. So
Yep.
after that,
So
there will be
there you
no
go,
more.
folks. I snuck some away from this Somme. I snuck some wine from this Somme in Baltimore
Yeah,
to get it to
yeah,
you all. So,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
well, what do you have a favorite out of his lineup? Is that like a particular wine in your travels of going into Val d'Aosta, tasting different wines? Is that particular one of Matea's that like pops out to you? You're like, this is really interesting, or one that?
So I liked them all. There was one that really was really cool, and obviously it was one of these special editions. So um, it was a Tourette Superior from the Barro.
Yeah.
And what happened that one year they ran out of the regular Tourette Superior. So they make a crew of Tourette Superior from the highest vineyard they have. Like the picture that you saw with a lot of like rocks, that's
Hmm.
where the most of the Petit Rouge come from. And they do some appassimento, so they let some of the grapes like
Raisin. Yeah.
dry
Yeah.
on the vines. And that wine, I mean, I would love to bring it, but it would be so expensive
Yeah.
that it's not worth it. Well, they ran out of the regular Tourette and the Tourette Superior, and they needed some more for the restaurants. And so they downgraded. I don't know how it's called in English. Basically, you have a denomination, and
Yeah.
instead of being
Declassified.
declassified, thank
Yeah.
you. And that's what they did. And it
Yeah.
was unbelievable because I think you were talking about how the Mayolet was complete.
Yeah.
And that one was just that extra complexity of the dry fruit that was like really intense. It was like, I was just like smiling big time. But then
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously I
Yeah.
had to
Okay.
sell it. And Mark always
Cool.
teases me that I sold the last bottle. So I had no samples left.
Cool.
But that was really unique because it was, again, it was like all the freshness, all the different things that you get in addition to this other layer that you don't always get
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
wine.
especially this region, just because there's all this, honestly, there are varieties here that are grown nowhere else
Yeah,
in the world, even nowhere else in Italy.
yeah,
It's only grown here, and then to be able to taste them, taste well-made varietal bottlings of each one of those is a super fun experience to have. So I'm super excited and thankful and grateful we were able to feature kind of Dibaro. I mean, it is a Val d'Aosta box, but it's really like a Dibaro box, really. So it's doing so much of it. And then the fact that you brought them all in, so which is all good.
Thank you.
And but I do have to ask. So I've been thinking about this earlier, this question, since this is a half French or both French and Italian speaking part
Yeah,
of Italy. Is it Mayolet or is it Mayolet?
Mayolet.
It is Mayolet with a T at
Mayolet.
the
So
end.
you pronounce it like the French. So it's Petit Arvin, Petit Rouge. So it's the same pronunciation. So the other one is Veulerman. So all the pronunciations are all in French.
Oh, so the T would not be pronounced then. It's the
No,
Mayolet.
because the learn it in French is like you think of the word deposit.
Uh-huh.
All the consonant in the word deposit are not pronounced if they're at the end of the word.
Um,
So
okay.
again, so the reason why I know certain things is because our dialect in Piemonte is very similar to French. That area was all part of Savoie.
Right, right,
So
right,
we lost a big part of France.
right.
So yeah, so it's
Okay.
Mayolet, but it doesn't really,
Mayolet.
it
Okay.
doesn't.
No, I was just
And if,
curious. I was like, I was thinking
yeah,
about
yeah,
that. All right. Well, I mean, first of all, before I get into the last video, do folks have any questions about Valle Asta, Di Barro, or Mayolet, or any of the things that they're doing? I mean, you have the person who brings these things into the States with you. So if you have any questions, this is your chance.
Christina,
yeah.
were you
Hi.
familiar with this grape before you got into the wine business, or is this something that came to
No.
you later? I know, obviously you're neighbors to this particular region.
Yeah.
Is this a, I mean, it's really unique. I really like it a lot. But how did you discover it? Where did,
Yeah, so that's actually brings a really good question. Thanks for asking that because people often think we're so lucky here in the US, right? You have wines from not only all over Italy, but from all over the world. In Italy, we drink very regionally. So growing up, we were only drinking Moscato, Barbera, Cortese. On Sunday, we would get Nebbiolo, but that's about it. And people drink that way. People even like, they say, oh, you guys, you go to Torino, which is a big city, and you get Chianti. Not really. We tend to drink locally, even in big places. So Valle d'Aosta, I used to go skiing or hiking, but we bring our own wine from home. So you go to a
Mhm.
picnic and you really have your own bottle. So what we do, and this is like the fun part, whenever we go to a new region, we have to learn what are the varieties there. And you try to learn as much as you can, but it's not until you actually go to the producer because Mayolet did not even come up as one of the, you hear about Petit Rouge, Petit Arvin, Fumen, which is the big red, and then they do a lot of like international varieties there. They do some Nebbiolo, but then again, Mayolet, what is it? We didn't know it even existed, and so that often happens when you visit small producers, and I'll tell you why. It's not like somebody usually, I mean, there's some people who do that, but very rarely. A small producer said, I mean, a big producer said, okay, well, this is like a really difficult grape to grow. Okay, we're going to plant 3 hectares of it. It doesn't happen that way. So a lot of this small, hard to find, usually a little finicky for one reason or another, are vines that have been there for a long time. So the small producer find them in the vineyard. Sometimes they don't even know. Salute. They don't even know what it is. And that's a fun part of like seeing the rediscovery. So we just met, let me think. Where was it? Oh, we were in Liguria like last week. And again, new producer coming in, hopefully in the next shipment or the following one. And what they did, they do please help me, Massel
Mazel
selection.
selection? Yeah. Mazel
Yeah,
selection.
yeah. So they're crazy enough. Apart from like the super steep slope, they wanted to have the same vines that the grandparents had. And so they created basically the
Mazel
little
selection. Yeah.
plants.
So Mazel selection is essentially
Yeah,
you're
thank
taking
you.
a clonal cuttings from a parent vine. So you usually go in the vineyards, you take the one vine that is doing the best, right? That's most vigorous, producing most fruit, producing the best fruit, and you take a cutting from that and then propagating it. And then that cutting is called Mazel selection. So you're making a
Yeah,
very like specific selective clonal
yeah.
selection.
So in the case of the small producer, it wasn't the best, it was the only one. And so they were concerned that this old vine was going to die. And with that, they would not have anymore. So that's what they did. And that's why a lot of like the unknown varieties, they at one point they die because if nobody really continues to wanted to, to grow them, it's over.
Like like this one. This one almost went extinct twice.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
why? It's like, hey, look, I don't want to deal with rotten grapes, and thankfully it's in a small region. But if
Yeah.
you're a big producer, I say, why do you want to do that work when you can do something that gives you a more, it's not just easier, but it's also more manageable. You know what to expect. So,
Speaking of muzzle selection, just to give you guys a little preview. So next month is going to be I don't know the name for it yet, but it's essentially like a heroic vineyards or classic old vine vineyards of southern Chile, essentially featuring three wine producers that I visited while I was in Chile, in Biobío, Itata, and Maule region. And we're talking about like 200, 250-year-old ungrafted vines. It's the rarest things in the world. And one of the producers found, to Christina's point, just forgotten vines, 200, 250 years old. They don't exactly know when it was planted, but they think is at least because it's in the same vineyards as a 200, 255-year-old vine of Pinot Noir and Malbec. And he's propagating that Mazal selection, picking them and propagating it into his vineyards. And he's trying to grow Mazal selection of 200 to 250-year-old ungrafted Pinot Noir vines in Bio Valley in Chile right now. Like they're doing some crazy shit down there. So I'll be featuring all of that, and you guys will all be getting a photo slideshow that no one has ever asked for, but I'm going to give it to you anyway because I have to, because I visit them. I'm just using it as an excuse for me to talk about my trip. So that's all.
Yeah. Christina, so these small producers that do the native grapes, they don't really care about being rated DOC or DOCG, or
So it really depends on the region and on the market. So all the Valle d'Aosta doesn't have that many denomination. It's all under the Valle d'Aosta DOC. Um, but it depends who's going to buy the wine, and where the wine is going. Because if it's going to restaurants that know how to sell the local products, the denomination doesn't really necessarily add any value. It's a choice. We work with some producer, they do only EGT, the basically regional denomination. Some don't do anything at all because they don't care. But we have to always think that denomination comes with bureaucracy, which in Italy it's not that easy, right? And money. So you're small, you don't want to deal with giving samples, with having people in your vineyards and stuff. You still have certain checks. You can't just like bottle and, like undrinkable wine. But all those things cost money. And in order for you to be part of that denomination, you have to send samples out. You don't have to do it with the
Yeah.
IGT, but you have to do it with the DOC. And so you have to make sure that they, the part of the consortium likes your wine. They feel like they're fit into that particular whatever they think. If they think the Mayolet is supposed to be that way, and um, but the other reason why sometimes you see people doing it is because if you do an IGT, you cannot put the grape variety on it. So we were just visiting again last week, one of the Piemonte producers, and they do an Nebbiolo from young vines from an area that it's really close to the city of Torino. It's called Piemonte Rosso. And to me, I always said to them, it's like, if you could write Nebbiolo, it would help me so much more to sell it. And he said,
Yeah.
actually, it's going to happen. And I said, oh, you're going to raise the prices now because now you have Nebbiolo on the label. And they don't plan to do it. But this is a situation where the wine is not going to change. And if you have Mayolet and you want to have a certain, it's also level of like, quality of wine. If you have a good wine and you want to really showcase a specific grape variety, especially if it's impurity, you want the name of the grape on it. So you're going to have to use a DOC to be able to do that.
Mm.
I
I
hope
actually
it
did
makes
not.
sense and it answer your question.
Yeah, it makes complete sense to me. And I also did not know that with the IGT that you could not put a varietal name on it. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Um, any other
each one is
questions about?
different. It's
Yeah. Thank you for the explanation. Any other questions about the region or the wine? Cool. Well, now as we're wrapping this up, I wanted to ask you about just kind of the future of Doria, but like what are some of you started in 21, you've been at it for 5 years, you're about to hit your
well, so
fifth
five
year.
years was the original idea. We actually have been only importing. I mean, it's 3.5 years of actual doing
Right.
work,
But
including
yeah.
the first year when I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm gonna reset it. But so the future of Doria wine is
Yeah,
Magna.
where's Doria Wines in 5 to 10 years?
Well, if the tariffs continue the way they are, we are done, and we're gonna be probably drinking wine in Italy. And you can come and visit, but we're not gonna be around. But our future is going to be we're putting a lot of effort into travel. And travel meaning not, again, your organized trips that you think of, but it's really the idea of we're talking about this situation. Like you just lived it in Chile, right? And it's so hard to make people realize these realities. So for us, the future is really to try to continue to do everything we can for people to experience what we experience when we go visit the producers.
Right.
And so that's a big deal. And then we're gonna try to continue bringing. I mean, if we're successful, we can bring more crazy stuff. But if we're not, do people
Uh,
need another Barolo? I don't know. So I'm gonna go
I
sell
mean,
rubber ducks or something.
yeah, it's funny. Everybody on this call will probably resonate. It's like everything you're saying like, there's no surprise why you and I get along in this wine club and the wine wise, because like that's the kind of shit that I talk about. It's like you don't need yet another asshole to tell you to drink Cabernet Sauvignon
Yeah,
or like tell
yeah.
you to drink Chardonnay, right? Like
No, you
I'm
don't.
just
You
trying
don't.
to do something different, something that is different. Whether you may hate it, but at least it's something different.
Right.
It's saying something. The bottle is saying something to you,
Yeah,
and you may hate
exactly.
what they're saying to
Exactly.
you,
Exactly.
but at least it's not just innocuous everyday shit that everybody drinks. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I think it's like the fact that it's not just that it's bad, it just tastes the same. If you
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Coca-Cola,
It's
sure,
boring.
go and
Yeah,
buy, whatever, your standard wine, it's gonna taste the same. And one of the things that I love when we do tastings, it's like, and this happens not once, not twice, but probably more than 10 times. Some of my white wines, it's like, wow, but this is good.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
It's like, what do you mean? Yeah,
yeah,
this is a good white wine. It
yeah.
has flavor. Like, huh, okay. Don't you want flavor in your wine, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, that's the excellent point. Exactly. Everything has become so homogenous in the wine world. It's like I want nuances. I crave difference. I crave originality. I crave people, bottles and winemakers who are trying to like say something, as
yeah,
opposed to trying to just please the
yeah,
global palate, so to speak.
yeah. And to
Um,
that note, I know that we're probably over time, but one of the things that we're asked the most when we were doing not our good selection of producers, they want to present us with international grape varieties and they want to present us with very heavy barrel wines. And we said, we don't like oak. Why? Americans love oak. We do this particular line just for the US. And we're like,
mm,
that's exactly what we don't want to do. We want to bring
yeah,
you what we have in Italy. We don't need
yeah,
another oaky, again,
exactly.
oaky
Exactly.
Sauvignon.
Precisely. Precisely. And I appreciate you for it. And this is
Thank
why
you.
I mean there are wines Christina, there are wines that she's brought me. I'm like, Christina, I hate that wine.
Yeah, I know.
I
I
hate
know.
them. I'm very
It's
honest with
okay.
her.
It's okay.
But I cannot argue with the what the winemaker is doing. Like they're just crazy. Like it's just completely different expression, a different
Yeah.
philosophical stance than where I stand with my wine, and that's okay. And that's what makes it fun. That difference is what makes it fun.
Yeah.
All right, Christina, let's wrap it all up. And I always like to wrap up our guest speaker sessions with a little quick fire questions at the end.
Ooh. Yeah.
Everybody who's been on this wine club has answered this question, as well as every guest speaker who has been on the
Oh my
wine club in the
gosh.
past 5 years has
Oh, I'm
answered.
losing connection. Sorry. Sorry. Wi-Fi is going down.
Yeah, exactly. Click. No, I mean, nothing is
Yeah,
too
no.
embarrassing. But, all right, so the first one, again, this is a universal question. Everybody has answered it. But what was your gateway wine? What was your epiphany wine? And what is the wine that you take with you to a deserted island where chilling is possible? Don't worry about why that is technically how that's possible, but don't worry about that. But
So
chilling
you
is
want a
possible.
great variety, if you want a variety or you want
No,
it.
whatever, great variety, producer, whatever,
Okay, so
one
the
single
first one
bottle.
was you have to translate it a little bit, English is still sometimes.
So gateway wine, the way I think about it
Yeah.
is like
Easy to start.
it went from just like a commodity wine to like drinking it for pleasure. I'm like, oh wow, like this wine is actually, or like, oh, maybe you're different because you grew up in Italy or surrounded by
Yeah,
wine.
that's
So for a lot of Americans, for us, like I used to drink Tubac Chuck, that like
oh, okay.
like
Okay.
the yellow tail. It wasn't really about the taste, but it was about just like it was cheap and it got me drunk. And I was young, I was broke. It was just like a beer, like a cheap beer. You're not
Yeah,
drinking Bud Light for flavor. You're just
right.
drinking it because it gets you fucked up, right? So, what was the wine that changed you from that to like, oh, I drink this because I kind of like that very first one. So, for
So,
example, for me, it was an Old Vine Zinfandel
okay.
from Ravenswood. Ravens Old Vine Zinfandel from Safeway was my gateway wine. That's what I used to drink. That's my first thing. Epiphany wine is like the wine that like made hair on your body stand up. You're like, holy shit! Like this, I see why people get into wine. So like
Okay.
for me, it was 1984 Christophe Roumier Beaumar. Like that Burgundy, like made my body have like a visceral reaction. Like I remember having like goosebumps run through my body. Like it was crazy, and I was like, oh, I see why people get into wine. Like how it can take you to it. And then deserted island is, it's just
Yeah.
like, what do you want to
Okay,
drink with?
so the first one, I mean, honestly, again, it's like my culture is different, right? I grew up with wine, but we have to go back to Moscato. For us, again, we were not allowed to have sodas in my
Yeah.
family. But guess what? We were allowed to have Moscato. 5-year-olds,
Yeah.
birthday parties. I celebrated my 18th birthday party with sodas, not
Yeah.
alcohol, because I was so sick and tired of being forced to drink wine. So Moscato was my way to start.
What is that like? You had so much wine already. You're like, I
Well,
don't
that's
want to
what
drink
I
so much
always say
wine
to
at like
people.
60.
People start drinking in the US at 20 something. They start with
No.
Moscato. It's like, it's going to take you like until you're like 60 to appreciate Nebbiolo and the tannings.
Yeah.
You have a long way to go. We started when we were very young. So,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, also, I've been on this train for my entire restaurant career, but Moscato, good Moscato is fucking beautiful.
I know. I
Most
know.
Moscato that you find in the States is shit. And a
Oh,
lot of
I
people
know.
get turned off by it. But god damn it. Can we talk about how fucking great good Moscato is? It's
Yeah.
so good.
I just sold out of ours. It's like, yeah, it's been like really great. Absolutely. And I don't know if I'm like, I have to say that. I don't know if I have really what you call it, the epiphany wine. I just had an amazing, let's put it this way, it's a recent experience. I had a Trento Doc, which it was basically Chardonnay. So Chardonnay Metodo Classico. Please
Uh-huh.
translate it for the English.
Yeah,
It's like,
classic method. Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, champagne. Yeah.
from tiny vineyard. We had to take a gondola up, okay? And we went down. I mean, it was all forget about manual. It's like it was a whole experience. We went back to the winery, and it was so amazing. We might import a couple of cases. It's gonna be more expensive than champagne, but it was like, oh my gosh. And I'm actually getting into sparkling wine. There was so much going on, and I expected the yeasty kind of like more, and it was so fresh, so complex. And I looked at Marco and it was like, don't even start because I know that you want this important, but how are we gonna sell it, right? I'm like, I don't care. Let's bring a couple of cases. I'm gonna drink it myself. So that's again, it's been like recent, adventure
Yeah.
in that. And the island, I don't know. It might be an old-fashioned Barbera for me, It's
Rivera. Spoken like a true Piemontese.
yeah, I guess it's like I've just yeah, it's you know, there's something that stays with you, and
Yeah, totally.
unfortunately, it depends on what the food is going to be like because Barbera by itself, and not, I'm not too crazy. I need some food.
Okay.
So if there is food in the island, Barbera. If there's no food, I guess I will go for a nice maybe some Arnaise, like
Okay.
our
Yep. I like our names a lot.
so.
Okay. Well, just a couple more. What is there a book that you have gifted the most?
Egg.
Or you have a favorite book or a good book that you have gifted the most? Wine or non-wine related?
Not wine or not wine. Hmm, that's a tricky one. Um, I used to give, and I can't remember the title. It was like something about it was a book about Italy, but I
Okay.
can't remember the title. It was like just the beginning when Italy was, I mean, it's not that Italy wasn't known, but it was like I feel like the food and the Italian wines have really they're so much more popular these days.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the title. So
Okay.
it was like that book with a bottle of wine and some cookies
Yeah.
from Italy that I used to bring when you could just bring a ton of wine on the plane and stuff. So sorry, I
I'm
cannot
actually
remember the title.
right now I'm reading this book called Heat. I don't know if you've heard about it. But it's a old journalist. I forget his name. He's a pretty well-known one. But anyways, he used to be a journalist in New York, and in his mid 40s, he decided that he wanted to leave and learn how to cook. So he
Oh,
hooks up with Mario Batali. This is back in
oh,
the
okay.
before he got into whole hot water
Yeah, like
situation, all of that Me Too movement. Uh, so he works for him and then through him gets sent to Italy and goes and works for a butcher in Tuscany, learns to make pasta in Emilia-Romagna, and then he just gets sent around. And then he wrote a book about the whole thing. And I shit you not, I'm reading that book, I'm like, I need to move to Italy. Like that's what I want to do. I want to go to Italy and learn
yeah.
how to make pasta from Nona. Like that's what I want. uh, it like romanticizes Italy in food and wine of Italy in a way that is, I don't know, very, very appealing to me.
Yeah.
Okay, and final question. If imagine a like a metaphorical billboard out there where a billions of people, millions of people drive by it every day and sees this billboard, what would you put on that billboard? If you could put anything on there, image, word, phrase, sentence, anything you want, millions of people will see it every day. What would you put on that billboard?
What would I put? Um,
It doesn't have to be anything serious, by the way.
no,
You
but
put on all kinds of
it's like it's something to do. I'm not very good with words, but it's like, can we all try to get along?
instances. Why can't we all be friends?
Can we all be friends,
Yeah,
Can we coexist? It's just
yeah.
like, yeah, something along those
Uh,
lines. And I know I'm not trying to get political, but it's like it's becoming so hard to just look around and
yeah,
just like, and I feel like the reason why I'm saying that is because to me that's also the way that we look at food and wine. Food
yeah,
and wine are a way to unite people. They
yeah,
bring something together, right? It's not, as I said, it's like I'm not waiting to open the bottle of wine for that particular occasion. Who is here? Who
right.
can I share it with?
Totally.
And that's what it really matters. And if you don't drink wine, fine, we'll do food or we'll do something else. But that's the whole idea. We can,
Yeah, totally. I mean,
so,
at the end of the day, I think everybody who works in wine and food and people who enjoys consuming food and wine as well, at the end of the day, I think we're all people,
Yeah.
like we do this because we like, sharing meals with people and sitting down with a nice glass of bottle of wine and tasty food and sharing it with
Yeah.
the people that we care about, having laughter. So, well, on that note, Christina, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate the incredibly passionate work that you and Mark are doing. And I know you and I, talk about these things and you and I taste wines together and, and share some of these conversations. But thank you for coming on and sharing your side of the business with the people in my wine club so they get to kind of see, it's not just a bottle of wine. There are people, it's not just the people also who make it, but it's also the people in between who makes this possible. Because without you, I will never be able to sell this wine. And without that,
I
you all will never
appreciate
be
it.
able to
I
make this.
appreciate everybody who wants to learn about something different. As I said, outside, the wine, if you are interested in an experience in Italy, please, again, through you, get in touch. It's like, I
Yeah,
feel like it's a life-changing experience sometimes. And part of me wants to, you told me about what I want to be in 5 years. Part of me wants to go back to Italy and kind of like do that full time, but
yeah.
I don't know who's gonna sell. So if there's anybody who wants to come forward, I'll do that.
Yeah, I mean, you all will hear about me wax poetic about this next month as well. But really, where it all connects is when you go visit producers. We can
It
all sit
does.
here.
It's
I can lead you through, show you as many pictures as I want. I can bring in importers, I
yeah,
can bring in
right.
producers, all that. But really, when it all connects is when you actually go to the place
Yeah,
where it's made and talk to the people who make it.
yeah.
I honestly, I came back from Chile being so invigorated and
Hmm.
energized and re-inspired about wine
Yeah,
that I feel really good. And it's because I went out there and visited that and had the
yeah.
experience of connecting what they're doing out there with this product that we all enjoy drinking. Because it's not just a glass of
Absolutely.
wine. It is
Yeah.
there's a lot deeper story behind that. So
Yeah, and I feel like it's like you get invigorated by, to me, it's like life. It's like an injection of
yeah, totally.
it's so different. It's not just wine. There's a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh, I forgot to ask, and I can put this out. For anybody who wants to follow more of what Doria Wines is up to, how can people follow you? Is it
So
Instagram
okay,
or
so
what
we
are
have a
the
website, doriawines.com. Pretty easy. And in there you can contact us directly. Us meaning it's usually everything comes to me, so I like to talk like we're big. We're on Instagram. We post occasionally when we have time, but yeah, and we send a newsletter out. We try to do it every month to try to share stories. But yeah, again, if you just contact me through the website, you can text me. I love to. I can give you recipes, anything you want. It's like I love. That's part of like I know it. Visiting producer and drinking wine is great, but connecting with people to me is what is more rewarding than anything else. So
yeah.
thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it and continue on your wine journey. It's really fun and it can take you some really cool places.
Yeah, truly, truly. Through wine, I've been to some places and met some incredible people. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's chasing one. It's funny on my way to Chile on the plane, I watched this short documentary called Chasing Coffee, and it's all
Ah,
about this guy who works in coffee and who's been you know going around the world chasing coffee beans for 20 years. And one, I've always been really interested in coffee, but two, I realized it's the exact same shit as wine. Like
yeah.
coffee and
Yeah.
wine, like it's about producer, region. You got to
Yeah.
understand the soil,
Yeah.
history, place,
Yeah.
tradition. I can see why wine people will get into coffee, and
Yeah.
vice versa, why coffee people get into wine. It's a very
Yeah.
similar thing, just different product. Um, but there's one segment in that I bring this up because there's one segment he talks about, which is at the end. He says, in this chase for coffee, more than the coffee itself, is the people that I met along the
Hmm.
way that
Hmm.
changed my life. And it's my favorite part of what I do. And
Yeah.
I think it's really true. And more than anybody, really, you just because you're dealing with really small producers, you're not talking about like these big businesses and big producers. So, and then you have a direct contact with them, every single one of them that you represent. So
Yeah.
it's not like just a sales rep who are kind of many steps removed and they're selling the wine.
No,
Like you
it's
know these people personally. So I mean, for me, it is a true pleasure, really, working with you
thank
and
you.
your wines and all of that. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
anyways, any
Ciao. And if
questions?
you want, again, if you want to learn Italian, I'll do that too. Whatever you want, cook for you.
Any questions for Cristina before we let her go? All right. Well, in that case,
Bye. Ciao. Ciao a
okay.
tutti. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you, Cristina. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. There it is. There it is. Oh, I didn't get to do the how much you think this wine is on the retail shelf with the Cristina. I know how much people liked it, but anyways, for the people who are remaining, do you guys have any questions about whatever for me? If you wasn't for Cristina about the wine, whatnot. I know we didn't do the tasting it through the grid, but
It was fascinating. Thanks, you.
good, good. Yeah, I think this is only the second time, maybe third time we've ever had a importer as a guest speaker. But I think Kristen is a little different because she's actually like she knows each one of them. Like she's direct importing each one of them. So yeah, it's always fun to work with her. It's a very different kind of thing. She brings me completely different wines than anyone else, which is amazing. Cool. Well, just for our shits and giggles, how much do you think this wine is on the retail shelf? And how much would you be happy paying for this on the retail shelf?
Feel like based on the Petite Rouge from last week being what, 27 something? Yeah, I'd say like 25.
Okay, so a little bit lower than Petit Rouge.
I
Okay.
think, or like 20, yeah, 25 to 27. I would say about the same. I like this a lot, but I think I liked that the early harvest Petite Rouge from last week a lot. Like that was, I think, my favorite of the three so far.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah.
So remember, it is Valle, very small production. It's hard to get it out of there. Also, nobody really makes this. But yeah. All right, let's see. 22, 25, 28, 29, 24, 28. You guys are getting there. I mean, but this wine on the retail shelf would be 30.75, 30.50. So it breaks the 30, passes a 30 mark. But yeah, I mean, wines from Valle is not cheap just because it's so small and it's way up in the fucking mountains. So
Can I ask you a question, Ung?
yeah.
I feel like the prices that you give are always lower. Like you can go to many liquor stores, wine stores, and buy pretty shitty wine for $30. Like,
Yeah.
like I feel like the prices you give are, I don't know. I think you're shopping at a different set of stores from the ones I'm shopping at. Like,
Well, thank you.
I don't think I could find this for $30. I think this would cost like if you go to like MacArthur, they'd be like, oh yeah, like this would be like 30 would be the lowest you could ever expect this.
Yeah, I mean, it's really elegant, right? It's like a really refined, it's well-made wine.
Well, I guess, but also like you're getting like wine that's not real wine for less than like $25 now.
Right, exactly.
Like if it costs less than $25, like
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing. It's like gas station wine. It's like it used to be, $20. What, 15 years ago? You could be like, okay, you can get great wine for under $20. I don't know if you can get great wine for under $20 anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think you can. I think it's like $30. I think it's like a 50% increase. It's like, yeah, you can get great wine for under $30. You got to know something.
Yeah. No, totally.
So anyway, I don't know. I always feel like when you say these, I'm like, I don't see many bottles of Italian wine at stores that are decent at all for less than $27.
Yeah, I mean, particularly for the also. I mean, a lot of it maybe also because this has been always my MO as a sommelier and a wine buyer of any sort. Is always like I'm hunting for the best bang for your buck at every price tier, right? Whether it be in the 10s or the 20s or 30s or above, is whatever, how the best I can get, best quality I can get, best tastiness, yumminess I can get, best story I can get. Is even better if all that is it can come in harmony, but all of that per dollar at that price range is what I'm looking for. And so oftentimes I think I try to squeeze out as much like value as possible. I try to go as cheap as possible while maintaining the quality. So yeah, maybe compared to the store, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of wines that are very shitty at $30 in this wine. Let's put it that way.
I feel like if you expand retail shelf to like you can find it somewhere for that price on the internet, like yes, that then absolutely.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
That's why I order from a bunch of random ass online stores.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is. There's not a lot of places you can get any variety at all that's good. I mean, because here's the thing, right? If this wine only costs them, say, what, like, I don't know, $18, and they're going to sell it for $30, right? Maybe that's the right ratio. They're still probably going to be like
the importer or
like MacArthur. Like they're like, okay, we're buying this at $18.
So
we're going to sell it at 30. Here's the thing: they're never going to, even if they could sell it at like 26 and make money, they're like, whatever. All our Italian wine costs at least $26. This is like a random bottle. We'll just still sell it for 30. Right. I think they don't give a shit about providing any value.
Right. Exactly.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also, yeah, to that point, it's also interesting traveling around, particularly having gone to Chile and also having worked in wine for so long. If there's one thing that I'm certain, there's one thing that I've learned in the wine trade is that there's absolutely no correlation between quality and price.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the price is almost like a plug, like thin out the air. Like it's just like.
I guess you could say that under $8, there's a 100% correlation.
I mean, it may be yummy, but it's not like a real somebody made it. Like that shit is machine harvested. Fucking, it's an industrial factory.
Yeah.
I went to college in Annapolis, Maryland, and there was a like little wine shop in like downtown Annapolis that had a wines under $9 rack. And this was in, 2010, 2014. And obviously it was like I was college age, but I like it felt I felt fancy buying a bottle of wine instead of a like magnum of, Two Oceans or Yellowtail or Carlo Rossi or something. But like I felt like it was the sort of thing like maybe if I drank the exact same. They had a lot of Georgian wines because there was like an importer from Georgia who had gone to our school, and so there was like a weird relationship there. But like I would agree with Charles that like if I feel like 5 or like 10 years ago you could get a lot of wine, like you could get a steal for a wine, like if you knew the right region or like it was an undervalued thing. Under 20 and sometimes, in the like $10 to $15 range, you could get like a crazy quality wine. But now it's, inflation's a hell of a drug. But I want to add like, because I loved having an importer on where we like, as much as I love hearing from producers, the like hearing about the importing side of the business is fascinating. But kind of also to Charles's point about like, how prices add up. Like, how much does the 3-tier distribution system in the US affect wine prices versus like, right, somebody in like France or Italy that does not have that system and like most people have had going to like a grocery store in Italy and like a bottle of really good wine costs like €5 or something. And like how everybody taking the cut impacts the price and the like availability of wine and like what gets sold and what you can
absolutely
as, like right, you could just like it's got an Italian name on it, so like we're gonna call it $25 or it'll be $30 or whatever, and nobody else people pay,
Yeah.
you know.
So this has become, and I will admit, the margin has become smaller. The tariffs going up, or has been going up for last, ever since Trump's first term, and the importers and the distributors have taken a little bit of, they have tightened their belt as well. Uh, um, they're taking less as well.
Yeah.
But in general, it used to be basically in each tier is 20 to 30% markup.
Mm.
So imagine that. It's like you got, first of all, oh, the by the way, the biggest markup is actually the one who gets the fuck the most in the system is actually the producer. Because
Yeah.
they get paid the least, they get squeezed. And that was a thing with the Chilean producer I was looking at. That like every one of these American producer, they just want it so cheap. And I was trying to tell them, it's like, listen, like it's not necessarily they're trying to like cheapskate you. It's just that like the fucked up system in America is that like for them to sell wine and they understand Chilean market. And I know it's not fair, but Chilean market, Chilean wines, like a lot of people still think it should be cheap just because there's a lot of cheap Chilean wines out there, and then it's really hard to sell higher priced Chilean wines.
Mhm.
And so understanding the market kind of a plausibility, and then trying to also work with this tier system. They're like, we have to be able to buy it at this price for to sell it in the US.
Yeah.
And a lot of producers like, what the fuck? Like you're trying to cheapskate me. But it's like I get their side, but I also understand how like you're doing something so different from, let's say, like Conchitoro, by the way, which I learned is the biggest winemaking. It's a basically Gallup Chile. They're like the biggest fucking company of Chile, third biggest in the world. They are not only that, they also have a vertical integration on their thing. So they have the retail shops of just their wines that they make. So
Mm.
it's just like they control the entire fucking market. And I understand you're doing something completely different. You're rebelling against that system and making artisanal, trying to really showcase the true 255-year-old fucking, ungrafted vine wines. And I understand why you think you should, and you do deserve more money for that wine. But trying to sell that in the US is fucking tough. So yeah, to your point, it adds essentially at least 40 to 60% jump from the beginning cost to get to the final consumer.
So working backward from that, so $30 on a retail shelf. That means DeBarro sells it to Doria for what,
Oh,
like 10, 15, 10, $12 a
exactly,
bottle.
exactly.
And then
If
DeBarro
even that.
imports it, and they are the importer. They can sell direct to you, but are they generally selling to like a regional?
So yeah, so with Doria, they're self-distributed, so we're actually cutting out the middleman, and that's the unique
Yeah,
thing about DC.
yeah,
And this is what I talk about
yeah,
regulations, that they can self-distribute as an importer in DC, and
yeah,
that's why like the wine scene actually in DC is fun and dynamic. You get all these wines that you normally wouldn't find anywhere
yeah.
else. So instead of that 40 to 60%, I don't know what Doria's markup is, but let's say they even if they took half of that, so it's like 20 to 30%, you know. Um, that will still be, and then if they give some of that, half of that back to DeBarro, so DeBarros will sell that to them at like $15, I guess, or even 16, so $4 more per bottle, and then they will sell that to me at 20% markup, so that would be like $3.19. I think I mean, I'll tell you, I got this wine from them at 2050.
Okay.
So my cost of buying this from them was 2050. So yeah, that makes sense. So that this would be, I would guess that DeBarro is selling it to them at around like 15, just below 15 maybe.
Okay.
And then they're selling it to me at 2050. And then I'm selling this to you guys at, I mean, if I were to do case club, but this is all part of the club. But yeah, so
Okay.
it'd be if on retail shop, this would be like 30, something like that. Basically.
No, it's wild how like you have that many players in the game, so the margins are gonna be tight because you have like and I said we are unique for being able to have the distributor or importer distributor wholesaler kind of relationship instead of having the
Yeah.
three.
I mean, I honestly think so. This I've explained this in the wine club before, but kind of like the wine trade structure is like producers and importers are like this wide,
Mhm.
and then in between is the distributors, the three-tier system. So second tier, the distributors are like they're this many people, and then there are like fucking retailers, bottle shops, wine clubs that buy on the bottom. So it's this hourglass thing. Distributors are they're the ones who literally print money
Yeah.
in the wine trade because everybody has to go through them to get to the final market. DC, California are a little bit different because now we can directly import and even the importers can self-distribute. So instead of this, maybe it gets a little bit wider, but like it's still the bottleneck is still in the distributor, the middle chain. So and don't get me wrong, I work with wonderful, wonderful, incredible distributing companies and the sales reps, and they do an incredible job of representing various variety of wines from different importers, and they take the time to really vet out the wines and importers and produce themselves and do all the work.
Mm-hmm.
But if as a consumer in America, if you are tired of paying so much goddamn money for wine, I think there's an opportunity to like organize final consumers to get rid of the second tier. Not like get rid of them, at least be able to have an option for the kind of basically what California and DC has. If the DC's rule is essentially if the product is not available in the market or there's not enough sufficient quantity available in the market, then you can buy directly from the importer or the producer.
Mm.
And I think that should be available throughout.
Yeah.
Throughout
So
the country.
does that allow you to buy stuff where it just runs out of supply? Like a lot of wines.
Yeah, so oftentimes technically, legally, I can pretty much if it runs out, I can buy it and all of that. But oftentimes also because of this tie, because at the end of the day, this is all just like any other business. It's a relationship business. You know, we work in wine, but it's a fucking relationship business. So the people, importers who will not usually sell it to me directly because they don't want to piss off their relationship with their distributors. Because they're like, I understand that you have a hold on this market. So even if, so this has happened multiple times with some of the Canary Island box that we put together, as well as many of the Beaujolais wines that we picked together. I actually went up to New York and tasted with importers, like at their office directly, because those wines were not available in DC.
So they didn't have to like protect anyone's business by not selling to you. They could just sell to you because.
Exactly.
So.
No. So I would go up there, but then they'll be like, I'll sell this to you, but we will still have to go through the distributor in DC because I don't want to piss out in case they ever find out that I sold this to you.
But even though the distributor didn't sell that wine.
Correct.
That's bullshit.
So that would be so the importer is like bringing the distributor business saying like, hey, in your region, this guy wants this.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell this to him. And
so exactly. So it all started with my email chain, me emailing the importers directly and say, hey, Zev, I would love to taste these wines. I know you have this in your portfolio in your New York warehouse or Jersey warehouse. They're not available in DC. And as you know, DC, I can buy directly from you. And then on his email back to me, he CC the distributor and say, hey, thanks for reaching out, but because of the relationship and the market that we have, we will have to go through his chain and all of that. So
I don't even understand. Like that's like saying like you went to the Toyota dealership and they don't sell Hondas, and you email the Honda and they're like, yeah, sorry, you got to buy it from the Toyota dealership. Doesn't make it. They don't even fucking sell that. It doesn't make any sense
Yeah,
whatsoever.
that's the fucking three-tier system in America. That's why wines in America are so goddamn expensive.
But like, why are the importers such colossal wusses?
Well,
It's
because
like, sorry, I need to protect your, like, you won't sell all of my stuff, so I
yeah,
want to help you.
yeah.
That doesn't make, they should just say, oh, you don't want to sell all my wines? Cool. I'll sell the other ones to someone else. If you want to sell it, great,
Yeah.
sign on. And then you can sell
Well, the
60
difference
cases
with
of
that
it.
model that you're talking about, Toyota and Honda, is that they are self-selling, right? Like they have a choice to go out there and like sell it on their own. I mean, I suppose in DC they could, right? But in a lot of other states, they can't, even if they wanted to.
Who, the distributors?
Importer, they have to go through they can only sell to a distributor. They cannot sell to a retail chain, right? In DC, DC and California are the only ones where they can sell to a retail chain, like me, right? I'm a retail license holder in DC, so
Yeah,
I
but
can
like,
buy.
why don't they just say, if you wanted, why don't they just, why doesn't the email say, if you wanted to distribute this in DC, I've got your first customer. If you don't, I'm going to sell it to them. I mean, the quantities
Agreed.
that you're purchasing are
Agreed.
Who was the distributor? Was it like Prestige LaDroit or
No, it was a native, native selections out of Richmond. Sean, he was on my he was a guest speaker in like 2021, 2022.
Did he start distributing that wine?
He's been distributing Zap's wine in this region for years, for a long time.
But no, but the one that he didn't distribute
No, it was a one-time special order. Canary Island was a plant wines. So
Yeah.
that was another thing. That's another thing that you could make an argument for, which is that, like, for me, I don't mind it and I like it because I think this is what actually makes TC wine scene more fun and dynamic. But there's so many of these little mini distributors everywhere, right? Because
Yeah.
so I work with so whenever when I'm putting together a box, I send out an email to like 35 different people that I work with, and then they bring me whatever they have from that region or from that fits that theme or they think that fits the theme, as opposed to like go to South Carolina, for example. There's a Ad Vintage that pretty much dominates Columbia market. They carry 90% of the wines that they're sold there. That's why they like print the money in those markets.
Is there a way to get around this by being like catch-all distributor for a region?
So,
But right, like when anybody else does,
some of these
like,
big
hey, I want
guys,
to be like, call Ung. He's the person who distributes everything that no one else distributes. When I just need someone to like sign the box,
I don't know. I don't
and
know.
then
I
like
mean,
you're valuable, right? Because in the states where you need a distributor, that's you. But
yeah.
you don't actually distribute anything unless someone wants it. It's like a
Well,
drop ship. It's like
but they already have a
distributor
distributor down there, so why couldn't you be that?
but not for everything, right? Like if you live in Omaha, Nebraska, and you're like, I want this Canary Islands wine, and you have a distributor license in all 50 states, and you're like, no problem, I'll sign it as a distributor, I'll drop ship this to you. Like basically just Amazon distributor license.
Yeah, but also, so here's you got to have
like,
enough volume to justify that. So, for example, my retail license per year is like $2,500. So like that's as a retailer. As a distributor, I think your distribution license in DC is like $5,000.
But like I feel like in like maybe 10 markets, you'd make the money, right? If you just
But you have to get it in each one of those markets.
Yeah, I think you could make. I feel like you can make money on this. I mean, like, here's the thing, right? The thing that we're all commenting on is an inefficiency
100%.
in the market. If there's an inefficiency in the market, there's room for somebody to fix that and make money.
It's not inefficiency for the people, the distributors, right? It actually favors them.
No, it's not inefficiency. It's inefficiency for importers and consumers.
No, not even for the importer, because they already have a distributor. They'd be like, I can just call you and be like, hey, bring the shit down with your next order that you get from me, and then sell it to these people.
Except if they have more options, they would negotiate better pricing with their distributors, right? If there was, the distributors have a stranglehold on the importers in most markets in the United States. If they had competition, they would not be able to say, "Oh, here's my price structure." You'd be like, "Great, there's a child here, so
So
I
you're
won't say."
saying like if I want any of it, like I will buy that at a higher price than the other guys buying it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or that like a distributor can't say like, hey, if you sell this thing to another guy, I'm not gonna distribute
Yeah.
all like the rest of your portfolio.
Which
So
is it? Which is exactly what they do. They
yeah,
say if I ever find you basically selling to other people, then that's like the legal clause I put in there. It's like the
like I'll drop you, and then
breach
you'll
of
be able
contract.
to speak. And yeah,
Which, by the way, I feel like is actually anti-competitive in a way that is probably not legal, but
It's totally essentially to discourage competition. I am 100% in agreement with you.
yeah.
It is fucked up, honestly. If
I
you ask
mean, so if I had more like verve and less going on, I feel like we would just solve this. This would be fun.
me.
Except I'd have to go into business with Ung.
I know exactly. I'm like, are you sure you want to do that?
My wife would be like, "I've always found you to be a very rational human being until now."
Add another layer on top of it, especially because you're in Montgomery County,
Oh
where
my
you have
God.
to fucking buy it from the county, or the
I
county
don't.
buys it, and then you have to buy it back from the county.
You want
Yeah,
to know how much wine I buy in this county?
zero.
Almost zero. The only
Yeah.
place I purchase wine in this county is the butcher shop. Because
Yeah,
for some reason the person who runs the butcher shop is like secretly stalking Ung's wines that he's put on the wine club. It'll be like Walnut Grove Chardonnay. I'm like, oh, I recognize that one. It'll be like all the stuff we've consumed is on there. I'm like, this person knows ball. We're going to buy a couple bottles, even though they're severely overpriced.
What's an alternative system? Like how does it work outside the US? I assume our system is wonky compared to other countries.
So there's no that three-tier system. So, for example, let's take France, for example. The producers will literally take orders from restaurants and they will drive their, like Beaujolais, a lot of Beaujolais producers. How this whole natural wine movement, how it got big was that these Beaujolais guys made natural wines and they're like, oh, this is good. And then they had they had some sommeliers from Paris. They're like, oh wow, these are like different. These are cool, amazing. Would like to buy some. So they would literally load up their trucks, cars, whatever, and then drive into fucking Paris and then drop them off in restaurants and sell to it directly. And then they will sell it to their consumers. And then that's how the fucking natural wine movement
So,
started.
is there any exceptions? Because I feel like vineyards in Maryland do that.
I was going to say, what's the domestic?
You're not supposed to in Maryland. If they're doing that, that's not, as far as I understand, that's not legal.
yeah.
But do domestic wine producers have to go through a distributor still?
Exactly. Yeah. Producers and importers are the same tier up top.
Producers and importers are the same tier. Okay.
Yeah.
The producers are basically, yeah, they're the same tier. Exactly.
So domestically, it's a two-tier system.
Say that again?
Domestically, it's a two-tier system unless you're a consumer buying.
No, still
Three.
three
No,
tier.
like in college, I worked at a vineyard in Maryland, 40 vineyards in Baltimore County. Right, they worked with one regional distributor, and then also every once a month, van from Montgomery County would show up to like take Montgomery County's allotment. But yeah, you produce the wine, we bottle the wine. Regional distributor takes it all like when they need it, and then it distributes out to the retail shops. But it's
Okay,
still
so Charles, there may be an exception. So I'll say this. I learned this. I didn't know this until about a year ago. So I did a white label, like a private label project for a honey pig in Annandale. So by the way, if you guys go honey pig now, there's a honey pig red and honey pig white, all Virginia wines. And that's me. Like I didn't make it, but like I did the blending trial. I did the fucking,
That's so cool.
Question: did your feet touch any of the wine?
I did not make the wine.
Okay, perfect. No, then it might be good.
My hands may have touched the blending trial. No. So during that process, I went through Ben Jordan Commonwealth, and Commonwealth is distributed by Williams Corner, which I buy a lot of wines from.
Me too.
So Williams Corner is their distributing partner. and I try to buy wines for or make wines for Honey Pig, and then they said, "Hey, I don't want to piss off." Ben emailed me and said, "I don't want to piss off Williams Corner, so we would have to use Williams Corner." But the thing with a Honey Pig project was that it wasn't even a wine that was going to like go to their warehouse, and as they needed it, they will order wines and then pull. It's just literally one-time drop. Like they have to go. Williams Corner would have to go to Custom Crush Pad in Waynesboro, which is 30 minutes from Charlottesville, where they are. Go there, pick up two pallets of wine. Technically, they have to bring it back to their warehouse. Actually, their warehouse is in Waynesboro now, so it's like right next to each other, like 20 minutes away. Not even. So they literally have to, technically, they have to pick up the wine from Custom Crush Pad. It has to come back to their warehouse. It just has to touch the ground in the warehouse to say that it has been to their warehouse. And then they go to Honey Pig central office and just drop off two pallets. That's all they have to do. But I was like, it's crazy. Like, why are we paying them the same distribution cost as what it would cost for them to pick up the wines from Custom Crush Pad, store it in their warehouse, and then Honey Pig would order them as a replenishing, as they need it. Like that's usually how the model goes. Like, when Williams Corner sells Custom Crush Pads wine, they go pick it up, they bring it to a warehouse, they're holding it, they send their sales rep to taste people on it, they buy it, they order, and then they ship it out to people. So they are holding it in their warehouse, taking up their warehouse space, using the efforts of their sales rep people to sell the wines and all of that. As opposed to this model, the private label with Honey Pig is that you don't have to do any of that shit. You're literally doing logistic piece of picking up from the winery, touching their warehouse, and then dropping it at Honey Pig's office. That's it. But Ben was like, but there are distribution partner. Like, I don't want to piss them off and try to use it because I had a different Virginia distributor. I was like, they're like, yeah, I had a friend who they're like, yeah, dude, I'll do that. Like, honestly, you don't even have to fucking charge me. Like, I have to go into that region anyway to pick up some wines. So I just do that. And then, like, we'll just have dinner. You just pay for dinner. Take me out for dinner. Like, but they were like, we can't, but I don't want to piss off Williams Corner in case I use somebody else. So, but then I learned that state of Virginia created a very, I guess, like an exception in the law, like a new thing where to encourage actual producers to self-distribute, to be able to at least sell to restaurants. So the state of Virginia actually has an office now, administrative office, where they act as a distribution company, the middleman, but it's a state-owned. So you, as a producer, like Ben, could file and tell them that this is a wine that I want to distribute here. And then all they do is they just do the paperwork to make sure that it touches the distribution, it clears the three-tier system. And then they just have to take the wine from the winery to the final destination. So yes, to your point of how do producers sell directly to restaurants, maybe Maryland has something similar. So
yeah, I don't know. So two questions. One, is it still recording?